this is dried, you fill it, take this out, put it here, fill it with concrete, and then once again you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that you can then take out and put as a plug, and then that covers this. And you can see that pretty well when you put this like this, and you put this like that, and etc. Okay, so that's what's going on top of there. So now let's just talk about the last piece of this whole puzzle.
Speaking of oil, though,
yeah,
I think it hasn't been mentioned that this stuff is oiled.
Oh, yeah.
Any place concrete is gone has to be oiled profusely.
yeah. We use used motor oil, thanks to Dave. We have a whole bunch. We've also used vegetable oil. And it's a messy process, but you assemble the molds and you paint them up good. And then you pour your concrete, and when you're done, you take out these molds. You got to wash them off with soap and water and clean them, because you don't want to have greasy molds all the time. And then you dry them and you clean them and you store them, and then the next person takes them and then oils them up and uses them again. And we should get several hundred uses out, particularly if we're using this technique of not using these but using the PVC pipe. That's the only place where we've seen some potential for real damage. Every build needs its own biogas gas holder dome, and these cost about, what did you say, $350? Is it? About $350, and they're big, so it's hard to order them. What you do is you first start, because they're made of lightweight fiberglass, and it's not that heavy, right? One person can lift it, as you can see. But to give it more strength, for tensegrity, as Buckminster Fuller would say, tensile integrity, they have these aluminum bars that go in and form a triangle, and that keeps it nice and stable, so they can keep the lightweight. There's 3 penetrations here, and if we turn this over, you will see what goes on there. So we have these metal rings. Oops, that came out. Put that back in. So you have these metal rings. Not rings, what do you call this? Half rings, a semicircular cord, something. You've got these sections, let's say. And the sections, I guess we can put that on later. The sections go through the penetration in the middle that goes to the aluminum brace. And then there's 2 more penetrations to hold that plate down. And then you've got these pieces here and a piece in the middle that goes like that. And then that is where the peg goes. And that's what I was showing you inside. That's going to go into the hole that we were filling with the PVC, and that locks it in place. And there are 3 of them. One here, and one here. And you don't put these tightly on in the beginning, because you'll want to be able to slide this back and forth until you can fit this in the concrete in the hole, and then you put a bolt through it here to hold it in place, and that is what's going to hold this thing down. This is going to be anchored in, so even though there's going to be pressure of gas trying to lift this up, it's anchored by a triangle, and that holds the thing underwater. The water is going to rise as this thing is filled with water at the beginning, and you fill up your tank to about halfway up the neck. That water is going to be filling this, of course. But as this fills with gas, once you put the gas outlet on, which has an O-ring, comes with a rubber O-ring, don't forget to put the O-ring on, and then it screws in here quite elegantly. If I can. There we go. So once you've got this on, and you've got this sealed, the water has nowhere to go as gas starts to fill from your methanogens bubbling, so it's going to go around the sides and cover this, and the water level is going to begin to rise up to here, almost to the top of this. That pressure is going to be pushing hard on this thing to spring up. That has happened to people. So you want to make sure when you anchor this in that you really tighten all these down and put your bolt in here so that you don't have that fail like we had over there where the thing just sort of pops, because then this thing will pop up. It's under a lot of pressure to rise. And if you do that, then it'll hold just fine under there. And then it works like a floating drum, but without anything moving. It's the water that moves instead. It's water displacement. The water rises, and then you open your gas valve, and the gas goes out, and the water pushes it out. You close the gas valve, it fills up with gas again, the water rises, you open it, and you don't have to have it open and close outside. You can do that in the kitchen. You can have your valve there. This can be open all the time. This thing then goes on top of that, and so let's just show for our final image what that will look like. And we'll pick this up. For now, we'll just put it here. It's sitting on top of the mold because we haven't poured the concrete. When you remove the mold, it fits precisely between the two molds, the inner and the outer, on this lip of concrete that this ring will form. That is what this is made. This little lip here is made to sit on the concrete lip, and that puts it in the right place. It lets water seep out, but it doesn't easily make it move. It stays stable so that you don't have a problem with gas ever coming out. So the water can just seep out the side. And so this will be down inside. It'll be down to about here. And that's about it for our very quick walkthrough of the Pusheen. That's a sort of dry build. And as we build tomorrow and over the next few days, we will show you the actual process of assembling. Come over here and we'll just show you where we're assembling as the fading light shows us.
If you bathe, there's a seat cover.
So in general, you can do your build on your day of concrete pour for the slab. Get everybody familiar. The way we basically do things is, day number one is dig your pit. This one's 7 feet deep and it's 12 by 11. So we have an 11 by 11 slab that we poured 4 inches. And then we put rebar in, and then we put these 1/2 inch rebar lengths 145 centimeters from the center pole, which is the precise place in between the inner and the outer mold that you saw. And then we're going to anchor our rebar mesh, this stuff here. We're going to anchor that to it and bend it around, and that'll be inside the molds. And then we pour the cement there. And while this is curing, you do your assembly and your checking and your training. In a dry build, you label and number all of the plates, you oil them up, and then as soon as this is dry, which is usually a day later, so tomorrow morning, since we poured this today, you bring the molds down for the body, set them up, pour the concrete, and then let it cure overnight. Then you come and you get the neck molds, and you put them on top, and you pour. And by the 3rd day, you're done. The 4th day, you can rest, and the 5th day you would then remove the molds and start filling with the manure and water. So thanks a lot for watching. We hope that that gives you some insight into the process, and we'll be showing you every step as we do it.